Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 4 with members me, Vira, Anjali, Vitaloca, and my friends Indah, Permata, Sari, and Evi Handayani. We want to explain the material about scoring and interpreting the test score. Okay, I will explain first about scoring items and scorability. Scoring items. A test score is a piece of information, usually a number that conveys an examiner's performance on the test. One formal definition is that it is a summary of the evidence contained in the examiner's response to a test item related to the construction or construction being measured. The scores are interpreted with interpretation that refer to norms or criteria or sometimes both. Interpretation that refers to the norm means that the score conveys meaning about the examined in relation to their position among other examined. Interpretation that refers to the criteria means that the score conveys information about the examined in relation to the particular subject matter regardless of the score of other examined. Next is type of test score. There are two types of test score. The first is raw score. Raw score is a score without any adjustment or transformation, such as the number of simple questions answered correctly. The second is the scale score. The scale score is the result of several transformations is applied to the raw score. The purpose of scale score is to report score for all examined on a consistent scale. Suppose that the test has two forms and one is more difficult than the other. This is determined by equating that a score of 16.5% on form 1 is equivalent to a score of 16.8% on form 2. The score on both forms can be scaled so that these two equivalent scores have the same report score. Note, the scaling does not affect the psychometric properties of the test. It is something that happens after the grading. An equation, if any, is complete. Therefore, it's not a psychometric problem but a problem of interpretability. Next is scorability. Scorability in an assessment is the most basic thing to determine whether an assessment is valid or not. This means that a test can be assessed accurately so that the results obtained are valid. In the assessment test, the examiner must be careful in giving the score. If test gets a solid assessment result, with the same result does not change even though the assessment to done by different examiners, the test is valid. There are three basic options. The first is linear test, the second is branching test, and the third is adaptive test. Okay, the next material will be explained by Evi Handayani.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Evi Handayani. For the next material, I will explain about scoring constructed response tasks and automated scoring. For the first is scoring constructed response tasks. Scoring constructed response tasks is measuring student skill in a more complex way. If scoring class response items seems to be problematic, the situations become more complex when we turn to constructed responses, such as extended writing tasks or speaking. So that the rating score must refer to three different types of discussion. For the first type, there is holistic scale. The meaning of holistic scale is a single score is awarded which reflects the overall quality of the performance. Holistic scales are considered the easiest rating scale to use for scoring. Example of multiple choice test by calculating the correct answer, then it's know that the score is 7, so 7 already describe the overall result. The second type, there is primary trait scales. The meaning of primary trait scale is a single score is awarded, but the descriptors are developed for each individual prompt or questions. Each prompt is developed to elicit a specific response, perhaps in argumentative essay, in academic context. So the scoring must be based on the answer, whether the answer is very specific or based on the weight of the answer. And the last type, there is multiple trait assessment. Unlike the two types of scales already mentioned, the multiple traits rating requires the rater to assign two or more scores for each distinct feature or trait. For example, speech or writing. In essay, writing can include properties such as coherence, unity, cohesion, content, and so on. That each part must be given score. And other example, like for testing speaking skills, include fluency, pronunciation, and appropriate vocabulary, and any other. So I think how to score test result is usually adjusted to the form of the test questions used, whether the objective test or subjective test. For the objective test, maybe usually every correct answer is given a score of 1 and the wrong answer is given a score of 0. While for the non-objective questions like subjective tests, in scoring usually by weighting based on the level of difficulty. And for the scoring of subjective tests, maybe we can make an essay questions, and after that, each number of questions you can give score based on the difficulty of the test. Like number 1, we give score of 2 because very easy, and number 2, maybe you can give score of 4 because a little difficulty, and for number 3, maybe you can give a score of 6 because it's difficulty. For the next material, I will explain about automated scoring. In general, automated scoring means scoring a student's worksheet that have been given to students easily, quickly, or automatically, which usually requires a machine or computer assistance. The benefit of automatic scoring is that to provide a way for correctors to make scoring in more detail, but doesn't take a long time, so it is more efficient, I think. Okay, I think that's all my explanation for these materials, and for the next material will be explained by my friend. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Indah Permata Sari. Now I will explain correction for guessing. There is widespread assumptions that students might guess the answers to close response items, such as multiple choice. In reality, guessing only occurs if the test is so speeded that test takers don't have time to complete the test within the time set. The researchers have devised means to adjust scores for a guessing effect. There is the formula of correction for guessing. S is R minus W divided N minus 1, where S is the score, R is the number of right answers, and W is the number of wrong answers, and N is the number of alternatives per item. Correction for guessing is not recommended, whether applied to individual or groups. These methods will not be discussed further. There is no theoretical or empirical basis in test taker behavior of their application. Okay, next, avoiding own goals. Ideally, scoring methods should be tried out during prototyping and piloting. The more complex the scoring procedure, the more effort should go into the design. This is especially the case when raters will be asked to make judgment about the quality of written or spoken performance. Complex rating systems require a granularity that is difficult to implement, whereas simpler systems are quick and efficient. The effort needed to develop a scoring system may be time-consuming and sometimes expensive. The benefits we have to gain then have to be weighed against the cost that we incur. Very frequently, scores on tests are given special meaning. Okay guys, there is the material from group 4. I'm sorry if any mistake, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.